Just across the water from the city of Davao, in the Gulf of the same name, we have the island of Samal. Named after the cutesy-wootsy little city of Samal, this is where we're off to this weekend. Well, we're actually headed off to a spot in the far southeast of the island, but we'll get to that in due time. The extended team of interns packed up all the gear into what is locally called a bongo truck, originally a model name, but now colloquially used for pure utility Asian-style pickup trucks. Keep in mind that this trip can very easily be done with just a motorbike, but for reasons we'll get into later, the interns had a mind-numbing amount of doodads and whatnot on this trip, so the truck was needed. Everything packed up, we threw the fat intern and a family member in the back with some refreshments, and I rode up front with the pretty intern. Out here in the countryside and in the smaller cities, it's still fine, but do remember that riding in the back of the truck is now illegal within Davao city limits. But as we'll only technically be within those limits for a few minutes, we decided to risk it. Well, risk them anyway. As this dog is certainly not paying out 3,000 pesos. Once in Davao City, head to the south end of the commercial harbor to Davsam Ferry Terminal, which unsurprisingly is where the Davao-Samal ferry line operates from. If you're just walking on, it's an easy 10 pesos. If you've got a motorbike, 100, but we're paying the big bucks for our bongo truck at 300 pesos. And keep in mind that the ferry operates 24/7, so you can go to the island and back whenever you want. Start to finish, the whole trip was like 20-25 minutes, so as my Tinoy homies say, may sure, which roughly translates to English as ain't no thing. If you walked onto the ferry, then just outside the terminal there will be plenty of taxi services and motorbike taxis, but your best bet is almost always going to be the pedicabs. Now, we get our first views of the city of Samal. Not quite what we've gotten used to considering city sizes back in Vietnam, with Samal having a whopping 116,000 people as of 2020, which is the last census that we can find. But there is some really interesting history around this city. The name is derived from the Sama Bajau, hard J, not soft J, I checked, a predominantly Muslim people group split between the Philippines and Malaysia, with a smaller portion living in Indonesia and a sprinkling in Brunei. Now, we really don't have time to get into what a datu is, but putting it simply, Samal was actually permanently settled long before its much larger neighbor Davao was ever established. Samal remained governed by these datu all the way until the 1840s when it was conquered by Spain. It was around this time that the Spanish established the city of Nueva Vergara on the mainland of Mindanao Island across the water, what would come to be known as Davao today. In December 1898, control of the island went from the Spanish Empire to the American Empire with the end of the Spanish-American War. By 1942, the island and the rest of larger Mindanao Island had fallen under the control of the Japanese Empire, before being reconquered by the American Empire, with some notoriously shitty fighting going on in the Gulf of Davao, having de facto freedom by the next year in 1946. 3 years after this, Samal municipality was officially recognized, technically gaining the status of a city in 1998. There have been plans as far back as 1969 to make Samal its own province, though this never went through. Well, all that yip-yapping about context out of the way, we're about to see what is absolutely worth a cramped ride through the mountains wedged between boxes and a motorbike in the back of a truck in the rain for. This resort is called Swissfinity, and we'll be breaking our own rule of not hyping up individual private businesses twice in a row on this channel now, but when it's worthy, it's worth it. This is way outside the realm of budget travel that we tend to focus on this channel, but as the interns were completing that bipedal mating ritual they were so excited about, they assured me that this was an opportunity to splurge, so I let them indulge themselves. And check this place out. Looking out south over the Davao Gulf, this place is run by a lovely couple, a local woman and her Swiss husband, if the name didn't give that away, and they actively work at the resort. All the staff were wonderful, the drinks were all mixed strong, and there has to be a specific shout out to the kitchen staff because the food here is absolutely incredible, almost worth the drive just for the food. This place is such an ideally perfect tropical paradise that it almost borders on cliche. Soft sand on the beach and nice shallow water that's full of coral that makes for the best snorkeling that anyone on our team had ever experienced, with some of them having had quite a bit of experience. And just look at that water, perfectly clean and shades of blue that I didn't even know were possible. We've got this nice big lawn here where everyone will watch the interns do their smooching, a beautiful pool, and by God, let's be real here. Has anyone ever seen better trees than these for peeing on? After chickening out on learning how to swim in our last episode, I may seriously be giving it a go here. How could you not? And what sets the tone for a romantic occasion better than the smell of wet dog? The rooms are clean, well-maintained, and high quality. The bathrooms are modern and well taken care of, but there are only 10 rooms at the resort, which we booked out completely for the event, but this also means that if you're planning a trip out here, make sure to book in advance to be sure you'll get one. Anyway, big shout out to Swissfinity for letting us host the event here. Also big shout out to Silab Fire Dancers for an amazing performance. Actually, you know what? Let's just pause here for a second and appreciate how cool this show was. Anyway, after a few unforgettable days on Samal, it's time for us to head off to our next destination. To make it back to the ferry, we had to take this dirt road, which should put into context just how underdeveloped much of this island still is. And this is important for a few reasons. There's the material analysis on local quality of life, the positive and negative impacts of tourism developments in places like this, the ethics of tourism in general, but particularly for the sake of appreciating the natural and original beauty of a place like this. Because that big shiny city right there is Davao, the second biggest city in the country if you count Metro Manila as a single city. And this bridge will connect the secluded little island paradise to that big shiny city by a 4-lane highway starting in 2028. While the ferry is cheap and easy to access, it's still a small barrier to more people coming, which won't exist with the bridge. While we're happy for the local economy to develop and hope for a corresponding improvement in quality of life for the local people on the island, it's hard not to be a little sad knowing how much it's going to change in the coming years. But to end on a happy note, do try and see it before then, because no video is ever going to truly capture how beautiful this place is. Lick that like button, pause, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Later!